Good morning. We are reading the 14 lessons. We are on the 14th lesson on page 212. The man best calculated to make general advancements along occult lines is the one who avoids running to extremes in any one of the branches of the subject, but who, while in the main following his own inclinations, towards certain forms of yoga still keeps a general acquaintance with the several phases of the great philosophy. In the end, man must develop all his many sides. And why not keep in touch with all sides while we journey along? By following this course, we avoid one-sidedness, fantasism, narrowness, short-sightedness, and bigotry. Yogi students may be divided into three general classes: those who have made some considerable progress along the same lines in past incarnations, and who have awakened to consciousness in the present life with the strongest tendencies toward occultism and similar subjects. These people learn rapidly and are conscious of the fact that they are but relearning some lessons learned in the past. They grasp occult truths intuitively and find in such studies food for the hunger of the soul. These souls are, of course, in various stages of development. Some have but an elementary acquaintance with the subject, their knowledge in the past incarnation having been but slight. Others have progressed further and are able to go much further in their present work than those who are less developed. Still others are quite highly developed and lack but little of having reached the conscious stage of incarnation. That is, the state of being able to awaken to conscious knowledge of past lives. The last mentioned subclass are apt to be regarded as queer by their associates, particularly in early life. They appear old and strange to their companions as they they feel as if they were strangers in a strange land, but sooner or later are sure to be brought into contact with others or made acquainted with teachings which will enable them to take their studies again. Two, those who awaken to a conscious knowledge to a greater or lesser degree of their past lives and what they learned there. Such people are comparatively rare, and yet there are far more of them than is generally supposed. For these people are not apt to bestow their confidence upon chance acquaintances and generally regard their knowledge and memory of the past as something sacred. These people who go through the world sowing a little seed here and a little there will seed falling which seed falling on fertile ground bears fruit in the future incarnation of those who receive them. Three, those who have heard some occult truths in past incarnation, some words of wisdom, knowledge, or advice dropped by some of those who have advanced further along the path. In their mental soil, if rich, they let these seed thoughts seek deep into them, and in the next life the plant appears. These people are possessed of an unrest, which makes them dissatisfied with the current explanations of things, and which causes them to search here and there for the truth, which they intuitively know is to be found somewhere. They are often led to run after false prophets, and from one teacher to another, gaining a little truth here, having an error corrected there. Sooner or later, they find an anchorage, and in their rest, they lay up stores of knowledge, which, after being digested into the period of rest soul in the astral world, will be of great value to them in their next incarnation. It will be readily recognized that it is particularly impossible to give detailed directions suited for the varying needs of these different students. All that can be done outside of personal instruction from some competent teacher is to give words or general advice and encouragement, but do not let this discourage you. Remember, this is a great occult truth. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. The way will be open to you step by step. And as each new spiritual need comes into existence, the means to satisfy it will be on the way. It may come from without. It may come from within, but it will come. Do not let discouragement creep over you because you seem to be surrounded by the most unfavorable environments with no one near to whom you can talk of these great truths that are unfolding before your mental vision. This isolation is probably just what you need in order to make you self reliant and to cure you of the desire to learn upon some other soul. We have these lessons to learn and many others, and the way that seems hardest for us to travel is very often to be one laid out for us, in order that we may learn the needed lesson well and for good. It follows that one who has grasped the fundamental ideas of this philosophy and will begin to find fear dropping from him. For when he realizes just what he is, how he can fear, how can he fear? There being nothing that is able to really hurt him. Why should he fear? Worry, of course, follows any fear. And when fear goes, many other minor mental faults follow after it: envy, jealousy, and hate, malice, uncharitableness, and condemnation cannot exist in the mind of one who understands. Faith and trust in the Spirit, and that from which the Spirit comes, must be manifest to the awakened soul. Such a one naturally recognizes the Spirit's guidance and unhesitantly follows it, with fear without doubt. Such a one cannot help being kind to him. The outside world of people seem to be as little children, many of them like babes unborn, and he deals with them charitably, non condemning them in his heart, for he knows them for what they are. Such a one performs to work which is set before him, knowing that such work, be it humble or exalted, has been brought to him by his own acts and desires of his needs. And that is all right in any event, and is but the stepping stone to greater things. Such a one does not fear life, does not fear death, but seem as both differing manifestations of the same thing, one as good as the other. The student who expects to make progress must make his philosophy a part of his everyday life. He must carry it around with him always. It does not mean that he should trust his views and opinions upon others. In fact, that is expressly contrary to occult teachings, for no one has the right to force opinions onto other, and it is contrary to natural growth and freedom of the individual soul. But the student should be able to carry with him an abiding sense of reality and truth of his philosophy. He need not be afraid to take it with him anywhere, for it fits into all phases of life. If one cannot take it with him to work, something is wrong with either the philosophy or the work or the individual, and it will help us to work better, to do more earnest work, for we know that the work is necessary for the development of some part of us. Otherwise, it would not be said. Excuse me. before us, and no matter how disagreeable the task, we may be able to sing with joy when we realize just what we are and what things are before us. The slave chained to the galley, if he have peace in his soul and the knowledge in his mind, is far less to be pitied than the king, pit, uh, pitied than the king on his throne who lacks these things. We must not shirk our task, not run away from our destiny, but we cannot really rid of them except by performing them. And these very disagreeable things are really straightening our character if we are learning from our lesson aright. And then remember, even these things shall pass away. One of the greatest hindrances to make progress of the student into the higher stages of occultism, particularly the phenomenal phases, is the lack of self control. When one wishes to be placed in possession of power, which, if carelessly used or misused, may result in the hurt of oneself or others. It is the greatest importance that such a one should have attained the mastery of self, the control of the emotional side of this nature. Imagine a man possessed of high occult powers, losing his temper and flying into a rage, sending forth vibrations of hate and anger intensified by increased force of his developed powers. Such exhibitions in a man who has attained occult powers would be very harmful to him, as they would perhaps be manifested upon a plane where such things have an exaggerated effect. A man whose investigations lead him on the astral plane should be aware of such a loss of self control, as a failing of his kind might be fatal to him. But so nicely in a world of higher forces balanced that a man of violent temper of or one who lacks self-control may can make but little progress in occult practices, this being a needed check. So, one of the first things to be accomplished by the student who wishes to advance in the mastery of emotional nature and acquirement of self-control. A certain amount of courage of the higher sort is also needed, for one experiences some strange sights and happenings on the astral plane, and those who wish to travel there must have learned to master fear. One also needs calmness and poise. When we remember that worry and kindred emotion cause vibrations around us, it may readily be seen that such conditions of mind are not conducive to physical research. In fact, the best results cannot be obtained when these things are present. The occultist who wishes to attain greater powers must first purge himself of selfish grasping of these things for gratifications of his own base ends. For the purest of occult powers, with his desire to bring only pain and disappointment, and the one who attempts to prostitute psychic power for base ends will bring upon himself a whirlwind of undesirable results. Such forces, when misused, react as a boomerang upon the sender. The true occultist is filled with love and brotherly feeling for his fellow man and endeavors to aim them instead to beat them down in their progress. Should I stop there? 7:53. Keep going?
I mean, I don't know if we'll finish today, but if you want to keep reading or we can stop, it's up to you.
How much more do we have? A couple more pages?
We have like this page and half of another page.
Oh, so we should finish. All the numerous books written for the purpose of throwing light on the path of the student of occultism, we know of one better fitted for the purpose than the wonderful little book, Light on the Path, written down by MC at the instigation of some intelligences far above the ordinary. It is veiled in the poetic style common to the Orientals, and at first glance may seem paradoxical, but it is full of choicest bits of occult wisdom for those who are able to read it. It must be read between the lines, and it is particularly that will become apparent to anyone who may read it carefully. That is, it will give you as much truth as you are able to grasp today, and tomorrow, when you pick it up, it will give you more from the same lines. Look at it a year from now, and new truths will burst onto you, and so on and so on. It contains statements of truth so wonderfully stated and yet half concealed that as you advance in spiritual discernment and are ready for greater truth each day, you will find that in this book, veil after veil will be lifted from before the truth until you are fairly dazzled. It is also remarkable as a book which will give consolation to those who in trouble or sorrow. In words, even though they be but half understood, will ring into the ears of the readers, and like a beautiful melody will soothe and comfort and rest those who hear it. We advise all of our students to read this little book often and with care. They will find it will describe various spiritual experiences through which they will pass and will prepare them for the next stage. Many of our students have asked us to write a little book in the way of an elementary explanation of Path on Light. Perhaps the Spirit may lead us to do so at some time in the future, perhaps not. It is not without a feeling of something like sadness that we write these concluding lines. When we wrote our first lesson, we bade our student to be seated for a course of talks, plain and simple, upon a great subject. Our aim was to present these great truths in plain, practical, simple manner so that many would take an interest in them and be led toward higher presentations of the truth. We have felt that the love and encouragement which is so necessary for a teacher and have been assured of the sympathy of the class from the first. But on looking over our work, it seems that we have said so little, have left some unsaid so much, and yet have done the best we could, considering the small space at our disposal and the immense field to be covered. We feel that we have really only begun, and yet in time we have to say goodbye. Perhaps we have made some points a little clear to a few who have been perplexed. Perhaps we have opened a door to those who were seeking to entrance to the temple. Who knows? If we have done even a little for only one person, our time was well spent. And future time will we may feel called upon to pass on to a higher and more advanced presentation of this subject. That is the matter which depends much upon our own desires. If you need us, we will you will find us ready and willing to join you in the study of the great truths of the yogi philosophy. But before we take the next step onward, be sure that you understand these elementary lessons thoroughly. Go over and over them until your mind has fully grasped these principles. You will find new features presenting themselves with each reading as your mind unfolds. You will find new truths you even in awaiting you even in the pages that you have read and reread several times. This not because of any special merit in our work, for this work is very crude to our idea, but because we have of our inherent truth of the philosophy itself, which renders anything written upon it fills with the subject for thought and earnest consideration. Goodbye, dear students. We thank you for your kindness in listening to us during this term of this class. We have felt your sympathy and love, as many of you must have felt ours. We feel sure that as you read these lines filled with earnest thoughts of kinship to you, you will feel our nearest to your spirit. will be conscious of that warm hand clasp which we extend to across the miles that separate the us and flesh. Remember these words from Light on the Path when the disciple is ready to learn, and then he is accepted, acknowledged, recognized. It must be so, for he has lit his lamp and it cannot be hidden. Therefore, we say, Peace be with you.
Thanks for reading. I feel like this was our fastest and book we've read.
Yeah, it was. Well, since I've joined, yes. We finished another book. Yay.
He makes so many interesting points. Like the thing about the angry people not being able to make spiritual progress is so interesting to me, because I guess once you hit a point of anger, you've relinquished your ability to master your mind. They talk about that so much in Bhagavad Gita too. And then,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna move on to another point. So go ahead.
But I'm reading Body Keeps Score, which is a book I read years ago. And I'm only on chapter 4, but it's so interesting how it makes sense. Like if anger is coming to you current or past trauma, and it's like it's literally shutting down your brain, so it makes sense that you can't advance spiritually because your body and mind are physically stuck. It, like your brain shuts down.
Yeah, you can't think of the future. You can't process the past. You can't be present. It's a mess.
Yeah, and your body just keeps sending out these like stress, like your mind keeps sending, the brain keeps sending out these like you're in danger body. And I haven't watched your workshop, but I don't remember if I bought it yet or not, but I plan to watch it. I'm excited for it.
It's all about that. It's like how our whole system is, people don't realize it, but it's like it's all about healing our trauma. Every single bit of it, every process of it systematically heals the trauma, and people don't know why they start feeling better, why they stop having like physical issues, why they get healthier, why their mind, right? It's just healing all that trauma. And it go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say it corresponds with that book.
Yeah.
We like pull all the fascia to the area that corresponds with the trauma. It's like understanding the chakras brings you to a space of understanding trauma. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm so connected.
And when we're angry, sometimes this happens to me. Like I'll get so angry over something, and then it'll pass. I'm like, why did I get so angry about it? It's like, this is silly. I mean, sometimes it's like rightful anger, but I feel like the rightful anger, usually we can like say something about it and then move on from it. But the ones where we're just stuck in our anger, that to me is trauma, because obviously something is triggering you to get that angry every single time. And unless you unravel like it from your body, you're gonna put yourself in that cycle.
I agree. It is traumatizing to be stuck in that, because if you're getting so angry, it usually means there's some kind of thing that's happening over and over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
If you're becoming so dysregulated, it's like it's pushed you past your point of your nervous system being able to process whatever's going on.
Or moving you away from the situation. Like if your brain, like this book is just so interesting. Like your brain is here to keep you safe. And the way he describes it in this book, I just love his writing style. It's like, it reads like a novel almost. And like our brain is meant to keep us moving forward in this, not keep us stuck. So like if you are stuck in that cycle and you can't have a conversation with somebody, then something's obviously not wired properly. And this happens to me. I'm not saying it doesn't, but it's nice to be aware of it, because then you can, you know what you have to work on.
Yeah.
What book are you talking about? I'm sorry.
The Body Keeps Score.
What?
I'll text it to you. It's called The Body Keeps Score. It's a pretty
The Body
popular book. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I've had it here for years, and I've been saying I feel like I need to start like talking therapy, which is something I never have done before, but I feel like I can't go into a therapist until I finish this book. So my goal is to read one chapter every day. It's 20 chapters, so I should have it finished in a few weeks. But anyway, Amanda, did you have another point you wanted to share?
Oh, wait, Pam, can you text it to me too? The name of the book. I love that.
Yeah, I don't know if I have your text, but I will.
Oh, yes, that's right. Okay. Send it through the chat.
Let me get my text.
I was gonna say it's a perfect segue into the advanced course.
Oh yeah. I started reading the advanced course. I think I only made it to chapter 3. Let's see here. But I should reread lesson 1 and 2. Unless we're gonna read it. Do you guys think we'll read it? We're gonna read Science of Breath next, I think, right?
the advanced course of this book.
Yeah, it's like the sequel to this book.
That would be cool. I also want to read Science of Breath, but we don't have to.
Who writes Science of Breath? Who's the author on that?
I think this guy.
Oh, this is another one of his books. Oh, I
It's
think I have that one then.
He referred to it like a million times.
Yeah.
Oh
and
yeah.
it's a free PDF. I have
Yeah,
it.
it's about pranayam. It's a short one.
Yeah,
He's got a couple of cool ones. Like there's another one about healing with your hands, like healing other people. It's almost like the yogic form of Reiki. And then he has another one that's Hatha Yoga and a Raja Yoga one and a Jnana Yoga one. And I think that's all his books.
yeah. I bought this one. Thanks, Lauren. I wrote that in your message. I bought this one. I was like, oh, it's so cool because it's both books combined. And I was reading it, and I'm like, oh, that's a science book. And now they don't sell this version anymore. They sell on Amazon like a 7-in-1 of all his books. And I'm like, oh. And I already bought the advanced course by itself, and then I put it on the Rev library, and then I bought this one. Now I'm like, I want the big one, but it's fine. There's all the free PDFs. I don't need to buy all these books.
Yeah, it's so nice that the PDFs are online.
Yeah.
It used to be you had to really, really scrounge,
Yeah.
go to the secret bookshops and
Yeah.
find all this information. The world is so different now.
Yeah. I love that when he says, can I find it? It was like literally right here. When he's like, the truth is going to come to you. Or the teacher, oh yeah, here it is. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. I just love that. It's like, I mean, it just like, it just feels true to me. And I think,
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's what he says. Like when the disciple is at the end, he says when the disciple is ready to learn, then he is accepted, acknowledged, recognized. It must be so, for he has lit his lamp and it cannot be hidden. And he says something similar. And it's like, he talks about like, you're going to get something out of this the first time you read it. And this is my second time through, and I got something else out of it. And I feel like, and even me just now saying like, it just feels true to me. That's like some of the stuff we talked about yesterday. We're like, we're not sure if we really believe this, but it didn't feel like it was against anything we believed in either. So like, it's just like nice seed planting. And then maybe next time and then he's just writing it as truth. But for us to then go figure out on our own.
Yeah, this is true in books, but it's also true in just like the intersectionality of reality. Like wherever your consciousness is at, you'll be able to perceive the depth of something in a more profound way. You ever notice that? Like you think back on when you're in a higher level of consciousness, you think back to situations you previously were in, and suddenly you have a new perspective or understanding of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the same with like, I'll read the same book over and over again. And it's like every time my consciousness changes, or like I experience more of my own consciousness and I'm more embodied in my own consciousness, it's like new knowledge
Yeah.
is, it's like you're leveling up in the video game, you know, like you get to the next level and then you get like the new, you get the next coin, you know, of knowledge, and you can kind of progress further.
And it starts to have the book has then different meaning to you, or you get different things out of it.
Yes.
Funny when I was and then at the end he ends it. This is like similar to what you guys are just saying, like a real life example. He ends the book, peace be with you. And this phrase is like a trigger for me because it sounds very Catholic church.
Churchy.
Yeah.
And
We're back to the Catholic Church days.
yeah, like peace be with you. And I like it brings that, like I can feel the anger rising. And so this is something I need to work on. But when we were at the funeral for Harrison, it was at a Catholic church, and they did a full-on mass. I haven't been to a full-on mass, I don't know how long, but they do the full-on mass. And they're doing the part where they say, okay, peace be with you. And then I'm like, it's COVID. Are they going to do the part where I hated this as a child, where you had to like kiss people or like hug or like shake hands with the people around you in church. Like this was like major trauma for me. I don't know if you guys ever had to do this, but anytime I went to like Catholic church.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a part of it.
Yeah. And I'm like, are they going to do this in COVID world? And they did it. And I was like, all right, just breathe. I had to like calm myself down from it. I'm like, you're safe. It's fine. You don't have to shake anyone's hand. You don't have to touch anybody.
Yeah, you could have done a bow or something.
Yeah, I mean, we were spaced apart, and the people that were next to me, one was Eric, and the other, and like, I'm like, I don't usually even participate in it. I just usually stand or sit there. But I kind of just like looked around and like waved. But the physical part was still hard for me, but the with you part, I could work through that part. I could be like, okay, I understand why we're doing this, like, and I want people to have peace and feel peace. So like there was a shift there that I felt, and I'm like, it's okay.
That's good, Pam.
Yeah. But it was just like another experience that like you can evolve yourself. It just takes a lot of work.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work and a lot of being present in that moment.
Absolutely. I mean, Jesus was a yogi. The biggest problems with all of it is like the organization and the humanizing of trying to interpret his teachings. And it's like, it's almost like, yeah, like you were in a different consciousness when you first learned it. And now that you're sort of raising your consciousness, you realize, I mean, something I realized is like Christ awareness is the same as Krishna consciousness. You know how they talk about that, like Christ consciousness? It's just another word for the same thing. He's, you know, they talk about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Like you're talking about the Atman, the para-Atman, you know, and then the material self. Like it's all the same. It's all the same information. And it's really how you extract it due to your level of consciousness. Like what lens are we looking at through this stuff? And it's a shame that a lot of people in all kinds of different organized religions are like looking through the lens of something that's quite materialistic and skewed and angry, and they're not advancing, and that's how they're passing the information on, and they're hurting people in the process, which, like, you know, turns people off to the whole thing, where it could be another portal to the self. That's how I always feel about religion. Like I have people who do yoga, like they're so like anti the religion they were raised in, and they get really into their yoga practice. They level up in their consciousness, and suddenly they can like go to temple again, and they can go to church again, and they can almost become religious and like accept what they were raised in because they like understand it now. There's a danger when people keep the teachings too shallow.
They did such a poor job on me, and it sounds like on Pam too, and I'm sure many others. Like it did not make me a better person.
Well, I never learned it, and I think that's where
Oh,
I never studied any sort of religion. I kind of was just like, there was no educational background of religion to me. It was just like sometimes my grandma would pop me down on Sunday church, and sometimes not. So
oh,
it's also a very inconsistent thing. So, and it became something I hated
I see.
because of that. So I think with yoga, I don't, I think because I took that teacher training and really immersed myself in studies and reading the books and stuff is what makes me, if I was to do this with religion, I probably would benefit 1,000 times, just like I do with yoga. Like if I kept showing up to the physical yoga practice without this background, I don't know if I'd be where I am today. Like I have grown tremendously from myself. I've become more compassionate and more patient and all the things. And I still have a lot of work to do, but it's like a wake up call. But I didn't have that. I didn't have that with religion. I don't know if I need to go back and read it, but I'm not against it as much as I could. Again, I can sit there with an open heart now and open eyes and not be as judgmental with people.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, that's really good.
Well, getting back to what you said before, it's like, if you're not being given a system that's effective, you're going to eventually leave it,
Yeah.
right? Like if they're not teaching you, you're saying like you're sitting down and sometimes you get information, it was forced upon you. Like it's not effective that way. It's not going to help you. You know, like yoga, the way it was presented in our lineage is very helpful, right? It's like healing the trauma. It's changing our brains, it's changing our bodies, it's changing our psyches. It's effective, so you stick with it.
Well, I never took Sunday school, but I could just imagine if you're not agreeing with something in yoga philosophy, there's thousands of resources where you can educate yourself on until it's something that you can either argue or believe.
Right.
But with religion, I feel like it's taught this way, and if you want to argue it, then don't talk back, and now you're being a bad kid. And
That's the difference. You hit the nail on the head. That is completely the difference. It's so black and white. And if you don't agree with something, and you're like, but this is why I don't agree with it, there's nobody there to like talk you through the gray.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's what it is. You hit the nail on the head. Yeah, I'm realizing for myself too, that was the problem that I had with it.
They used to send me to the principal at Sunday school
Yeah.
because I kept asking why too many times.
Yeah.
I'm like, but it doesn't make any sense. I'm like, just explain it to me. They're like, you stop asking questions.
Yeah.
I got in trouble.
But that's how you were trying to learn. You were honest. You're like, I just want to understand.
But that's what I love about this book. It's like this one specifically, and we've heard it in other books too. It's like, look, you don't have to believe what I'm saying. Like, go figure it out yourself. Like, but this is the truth. And if you're not believing it, that's okay. Like they tell us it's okay.
Yeah.
Right. That's the beauty of it. It's like there's proof in the pudding.
You're not broken. Whereas like when I was learning religion, or when you hear like people like you feel like you're broken, you're a bad person just because you're being force fed something, which isn't healthy, especially if you're dealing with broken down wire systems and your brain just
that's the human interpretation of it, in my opinion, because you get people who teach yoga who do the same thing.
Oh yeah,
like they insert their humanness and they're missing the point.
Or their ego, maybe.
Yes, the ego. It's a big problem.
I think it's good to stay curious too. Like you said, like you asked questions. My brother was asking questions about how Jesus, like, how did he create the world in 7 days? But my mom was interpreting that like time, she was trying to explain these questions to him, but she was having trouble herself. But staying curious and knowing that things that, we can't see or understand, that they're real because we can feel them, and that's, I don't know, staying curious to me and learning like this being a part of this reading group too is it's an answer to the questions that are right inside of us. They're right there. It's just that we're discovering them.
Yeah, right.
You know what the Vedas say about that?
No.
So time, like I gotta look up the exact number.
Oh,
But
this will
like
be great. I can tell him.
Yeah, like one day of Paramatma is like thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of our days.
That's what she was saying. Like,
Yeah.
in years,
Yeah,
So
years and years and years. Like, I have to look up the numbers, but yeah, like our concept of time being linear and like day by day it's such an illusion that we think that the way time is moving is the way that, that's like call is an illusion. It's a part of Maya.
I think they talked about that in the Gita too. I feel like I remember them saying like 1 year, 1 day of our time equaled like 1 million years, whatever the.
Yeah, like I'm a big proponent of like when I've met people who have very intensely studied like into the esoterics of Christianity, because there are mystic Christians, like they have the systems that Jesus gave. They're doing it. They're like getting mystic powers. They're connecting with God, like they have these kinds of answers. I think the problem we run into is when you have somebody who hasn't, dove that deep into their own religion, because they're able to have that kind of faith, right? They're like bhaktis at heart. They can just believe it. And then you get a jnani who's like talking to a bhakti and they're not going to connect. It's not going to happen. And they're going to think like there's something flawed with the whole thing. But I think the teachings of Jesus like perfectly align with the teachings of yoga. I can't say the same for the Catholic Church, but I can say for the teachings of Jesus for sure.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
And that like kind of helped me with the resolve of it all, because I believe. And then in my teacher training there was someone straight from India, and he explained all those like the fables of Krishna and their teachings of Jesus, their stories that teach us morals, and they're beautiful, and that they all align.
They're all in alignment for sure.
I think my problem with it is it's not so much that people are forcing the teaching. That's totally fine. I mean, even though he says not to do this in this book for yogi philosophy, but it's the inauthenticity that comes across from people. So like you may have someone who thinks they're bhakti and they're teaching something, or they're teaching religion or whatever, but then they're not like, they don't even believe it. They're not living their life that way. Like they're not living by example. Like they're teaching one thing, they're not even sure they believe it. It's just something that they taught. And then that like inauthentic part of it is where I think I have the issues with it.
Absolutely. And because you can feel the authenticness, not everybody can feel, not everybody has the same ability to feel that.
Yeah.
So,
and it happens in yoga too. Like when you have teachers trying to teach something that just doesn't, you feel it.
yep.
All right. Does anyone else have anything to share? Because sorry, 8:23, we should move on to breath and meditation.
No, I'm good.
Okay. We'll do
So wait, we finished the book. Are we meeting tomorrow or are we not?
Yeah, I'll meet Thursday, Friday. Domenica can't meet tomorrow. We can either start.
I can meet tomorrow, not Friday.
What?
I can meet tomorrow, but not
Yeah,
Friday.
I meant you can't meet Friday.
But I'm good with starting a new book next week if you want.
Yeah, we can start next week. I can also just read from like my daily passage book. I also have a note here. We never went over the 4 keys. I was going to discuss that with you if you want
cool.
to do that.
Yeah, we can do that tomorrow.
We can just do a quick meeting, like just do a quick chat.
Okay.
Read the daily passage, 4 keys, and then move into breath, especially since we are so over today. But yeah, I'll be here. If people want to join, I'll figure out something. There's always something to do. And then we'll do breath and meditation.
Cool.
All right, so let's sit up nice and tall. Take a few breaths in and out. Oh, it's also Micheline's birthday today, so you can send her some Care Bear love.
Aw.
Bring your right hand over to the face, close the right nostril with the thumb, inhale through the left, close left, exhale right, inhale right, close right, exhale left, inhale left, close left, exhale right, inhale right, close right, exhale left, inhale left, close left, exhale right, inhale right, close right, exhale left, inhale left, close left, exhale right, inhale right, close right, exhale left. You can continue on or release the palm. I'm setting the timer. You can join us when you're ready. I'm setting for 20 minutes. I'll be here if you need to drop early since we went over. Have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bringing your hands to your heart center. Namaste. Have a beautiful day, everybody.